Hey guys, it's Alex with Hammond Watch. I'm here today with the Rolex Milgauss reference 116400. It's the white dial variant and one of my favorite Rolex watches all time. So I wanted to share it with you, run through the specifications, and then touch on why it wasn't commercially successful and why so many people think it's got a bright future. Before we do that, a huge thank you to David at Jewelry Works in Gainesville, Florida for lending this watch in. David deals in used luxury timepieces. He's also my local Seiko authorized dealer and lends watches into the channel all the time. His contact details are below if you're interested in this or any other watch. If it's something he doesn't have in stock, he's pretty good at sourcing things, and make sure you guys, that if not them, are just supporting the watch companies and the watch dealers that are supporting the watch community. The appeal to this watch really starts at the sizing. It's got a nice chunky stature. You've got a 40 millimeter case, a thickness just plus of 13 millimeters at right around 13.3. While the lug-to-lug is right around 49 millimeters, your effective is 49.5, as the center link sticks out just slightly on each end of the watch. You have a 6 3/4 millimeter screw-down twin-lock crown, providing the watch with 100 meters of water resistance, and then you have a 20 millimeter lug width. The Oyster bracelet tapers down really nicely to about 15.25 millimeters, where it jumps up to 17.5 for the clasp. This is one of my favorite clasps in the watch industry. It is a lift lock. You lift the first piece and it immediately pops open. All polished hardware on the interior, and then you have the Easy Link system, which provides you with 5 millimeters of adjustment for on-the-fly strap changes, which is great after you've had a couple of drinks and are hanging out in the sun. While I'm sure David will be removing the protective case back sticker, I'm going to leave it put for the time being, so my apology for the less than ideal filming circumstances. The case back itself is screw down, and outside of the norm does offer some script engraved along the outside edge. You'll see Milgauss and Rolex Oyster alternating with the Rolex crown, adding just a little bit of flair that you usually don't get in Rolex models, and honestly I appreciate it even though it's a small detail. Inside of the watch you have their fully in-house 3131 caliber with 48 hours of power reserve, and it is chronometer certified. Surrounding that watch is a solid iron inner cage. You also have a nickel phosphorus escapement and a parachrome blue hairspring, meaning that you have anti-magnetism up to 1000 Gauss, hence the name Milgauss. Behind the watch's sapphire crystal is one of the more interesting designs to come out of Rolex, at least in my opinion. I like the orange printing on the minutes track as well as Milgauss, and how it really ties in that lightning bolt seconds hand. The hands as well as the indices and Rolex crown are all white gold, but the indices themselves are a black oxidized white gold that really help it stand out and pop off of the dial and frame that orange luminescence incredibly well. So here's the watch on my 7.5 to 7 3/4 inch wrist. And it fits perfectly. That sharp tapered bracelet really helps it remain extremely comfortable and not feel cumbersome on the wrist, although the head of the watch is relatively chunky, giving you a really nice presence and a substantial feel. So why wasn't the Milgauss and this particular white dial version a commercial success? And I think it has a lot to do with its playful design. You know, in general, the luxury watch market kind of lends itself to the luxury automotive market. Go to a BMW, an Audi, a Mercedes dealership and look around, and you're going to see lots of serious adult tones. You know, lots of silvers and black and white, and not really stepping outside of the box and trying to keep everything very professional. I think it's the same with Rolex watches. You know, most of their designs are relatively bland, and I think that the only knock I consistently see on Rolex as a company is the fact that they're old man brand. You know, they're old man watches. They're very simple, you know, elegant and well executed and have great value, but not necessarily designed for a youthful, fun appeal. This watch introduced that, and I think in general it didn't resonate with a lot of their target audience. I also think that the watch overall, with its case and bracelet, is a little bit of a tweener. You know, with a fully polished case and polished center link, it's really shiny when you consider using it for just casual situations. And then the dial having orange and a playful, seconds hand makes it a little bit too lighthearted for maybe the more formal of situations. I think this hits a perfect note for who it was designed for, though. When you think about creating a watch for scientists and engineers, at least the ones that I know are constantly in this balance of business casual. Wanting to look really nice and like they've maybe spent money on their attire, but at the same time not needing to dress to the nines. They're not salespeople. They're not trying to impress. So this watch hits that note beautifully. I just don't know how much of Rolex's overall market is represented by that type of buyer. I do think, though, that this watch whiffing on the front end will increase its value later on. Not at the moment. You can still buy these widely for under $10,000, which is phenomenal for a 40 millimeter sports Rolex. It had a very short run of production. They were manufactured between 2007 and then that was capped at the end of 2013. Meaning that these are going to be relatively scarce, especially as time goes on and watches get broken and polished out, and finding nice examples is going to get trickier and trickier. I hope you guys have enjoyed this quick look at the Milgauss. If you did, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Also consider subscribing to the channel. We're putting out watch content weekly at a minimum. And I hope to see you in the next one.